Cowboys.com is finally back from Philadelphia after what felt, I'm sure, like it was only like an hour and a half-ish, whatever it was, and the delay. It was a long time. I've been in those press boxes. Like they again, you could tell me it's a 27-minute rain delay. 27 minutes feels like 27 days when you're in that situation waiting for a game to restart, doesn't it, Mick?
And they took up all the food.
Oh, those guys from Philly, can't trust them.
Of all times to have a delay when you're, knowing you got a 2.5, 3 hour flight back home, you're supposed to go. Although we only got in a half hour later than normal, so I think the pilot must have done some speeding or something. But yeah, of all times when you're that far away and it's a night game, I got to bed at 5:30, got my 3 hours sleep, so no big deal.
Yeah, well, you're fine. You're fine. Mickey, clearly the defense felt the absence of Micah Parsons in week 1. And they brought in Jadeveon Clowney for a visit. And I assume they're going to continue to do things like that until they feel good about the pass rush.
Did they miss one sack?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was maybe the presence more than anything, at least from it's not numbers. And again, he hadn't practiced, but there's a difference when he's not there.
Well,
I'm not saying it's the end of the world.
I get that. I get that. But if I had told you going into the game, they're only going to give up 24 points and Saquon Barkley's only going to rush for 60 yards, you'd have jumped all over that, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It wasn't Parsons missing. It was the fact that they fumbled the ball at the 11-yard line going in for a touchdown, and they didn't score any points in the second half. They scored 20 in the first half. So, yeah, I don't look at it that way. And I know that you're not going to get the full value of the trade until, you start getting the first-round draft choices. And I understand that, he could have played 25 snaps or so and might have cut down on all the running that Jalen Hurts did. But still, it was 24-20, and they were like one drive away from winning the game.
Yeah, and you can tell that there are like, again, it didn't unhinge the whole like my point was it didn't unhinge the whole team. Like they're just going to have to find who the new playmakers are going to be. They didn't really, it wasn't spectacular. Like there wasn't the Micah Parsons, like how did he come out of nowhere? But they have a lot of young guys that do that. I mean, they've got a rookie in Donovan Ezeraku, 2 second-year guys essentially with Sam Williams and Marshawn Nealon, that are there. So that in addition to Dante Fowler, who's now the wily old veteran of the pass rush group, it's just going to take some time for them to find who's got the juice, right?
Yeah, and they had the only sack of the game, and the only quarterback hit of the game. So, look. The whole game came down to them not staying in their rush lanes and allowing Jalen Hurts to be the leading rusher in the game, right? That's what decided the game, that they allowed him to run for 2 touchdowns, 62 yards, averaged like 8 or 9 yards a carry. You're better off making them throw the ball than letting them take off and improvise running the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. So this week they've got a Giants team that they have had a massive amount of recent success against, one that has a bit of a quarterback controversy in that the fans want to see Jackson Dart. They want to see their first-round draft pick. They want to see him sooner rather than later. Russell Wilson was, I don't know what they expected out of him in week 1. He was about what he's been the last couple of years. What do you see as the biggest challenges from the Giants for the Cowboys this week?
Well, and let's remember, this team hasn't won, 8 straight games against the Giants or 15 of the last 16, right? This is a new team. So they haven't done anything against the Giants. But look, couple things. One, as you saw against Washington, Russell Wilson's going to take off the minute he's in danger. So they can't allow him to be running the ball all over the field. And, against the Commanders, he ended up being the Giants' leading rusher with 44 yards, and they were all scrambles. So I think they have to guard against that. And then, the Giants have a couple, 2, 3 really nice pass rushers. So you better be able to run the ball a little bit against them. And I know Washington did, although a lot of their yards ended up being, Jaden Daniels pulling the ball down and running. But if you can do that and maybe score more than 20 points, that's what you got to do to be able to win this game. Because don't forget that if you watch that Giants game against Washington, the Giants had 11 snaps from the 8-yard line in and only came away with 1 field goal. And so they were really on the edge there, doing something that no one thought they could do, but they couldn't do it inside the 10-yard line.
Yeah, Mickey, offensively, CeeDee Lamb was spectacular for most of it, except in key spots. He made those big drops. And I love that the sports world wants to think that CeeDee Lamb all of a sudden has forgotten how to play football because of a momentary lapse. But they would like to get more of their weapons involved. How much that just dictates into the game plan, what Philadelphia was doing. And, look, we've talked about it before. These guys don't play in games that much together in the preseason. The first couple of weeks is almost, even though it counts, kind of an extension of what it used to be, where they play 4 or 5 preseason games.
Well, take into consideration that was the first game those 5 guys played on the offensive line for the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. They had never played a game together. And I'm counting the preseason also. And you had a rookie starting at right guard. You had Tyler Guyton coming back after suffering the knee bone fracture like July 28th. He had 1 padded practice before that game, and he played 100% of the snaps. And you got a second-year center. So there wasn't a lot of experience on that offensive line, but I thought they held up pretty well. Now, it helps that Jalen Carter lost his mind and had a $57,000 worth of spit before the game ever started, right? But I thought the offensive line did well. I just thought that the fumble, Miles Sanders, there in the third quarter, changed the whole complexion of the game because the Cowboys were scoring on every possession they had until that happened, and then they didn't score again. So if CeeDee Lamb does what CeeDee Lamb does, he's going to have 10 catches for nearly 200 yards. And as it was 7 for 110, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Off the top of my head. And the same thing with Jake Ferguson. He had the ball in the end zone. If he catches that, the fumble never happens. So, you got to make those plays when you got the opportunity, and they didn't do it. And while everybody was patting them on the back, oh, good job, you came close, I'm sure they were kicking themselves in the butt that they didn't win the game.
Yeah, Mickey, the running game, obviously, it's always going to be a work in progress, but Javonte Williams had the 2 short touchdowns, 3.6 yards a carry. Again, the first right out of the box for him in a long time. What was your assessment of the overall running game? Miles Sanders had the long one, obviously, and he also had the fumble. But what do you think about where that's headed with these guys and how they make that work, given that they're holding back the young guys for right now?
It should have been good enough to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
Really. I mean, and look at what they were up against. The whole atmosphere there. I thought Javonte Williams ran the ball effectively. If they don't have that fumble, it's a pretty good performance by those 2 guys. And at some point they'll get Jaden Blue on the field to be able to capitalize on his speed that, we know they have. So I thought Dak played awfully well. Used his legs to get away in some look like sure sacks. So yeah, they just need to clean that stuff up. But for an opening game, and they didn't play anybody in the preseason, I thought it was commendable. And the word I kept using was encouraging, because I don't think anybody was expecting anything like that from this team in the opener Thursday night in Philadelphia against the defending Super Bowl champions.
Mickey, do you get this sense in the last, I heard all the players say that they were just happy that the Micah thing was resolved. Like that's maybe the bigger thing. Like some guys may miss him more than others, but the tension is gone. Have you felt that around them, that like maybe there's a little bit of a lighter mood, like not say lighter mood, but like they're able to kind of function within their day a little bit better?
I don't know. I never felt that there was tension. Mm-hmm. These guys have to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
They can't sit there worrying about a guy that wants to make $47 million a season. Right. And I think for some of them, it might've been a wake up call. Well, if they can trade Micah Parsons, they sure can trade my butt out of here. Right.
Yeah.
So you better worry about yourself. I didn't see anything. I know the things CD said, and it seemed like the only people that really spoke up were the people that had money in the bank. The rest of the guys, they were worried about themselves, right? So, yeah, I don't think it distracted anything. Now, would they have liked to have him out there? I'm sure. But I think some of the guys that wanted to get paid were probably going, well, okay, he left some money on the table for me, Deron Bland, right? Mm-hmm. So and at some point, Tyler Smith will get paid. And you mentioned they brought in Clowney. I don't think it was desperate, because they weren't going to over offer him. And I think he wanted more than whatever they did offer him. It was like, well, maybe we can take advantage of something like this to bring in an experienced guy. But just remember, he played for 5 teams in the last 6 years. So there's something there that was missing when those other teams didn't keep him. And Carolina, by the way, signed him to a 2-year, $20 million deal with $12 million guaranteed. And they cut him. And they're going to take a $6 million hit for dead money against the cap. So again, I don't think they were looking at, oh, this is the savior. I think they looked at it as, oh, it's week 2 and a vested veteran's contract is not guaranteed like it would be if they're there for the start of the season. And let's see what we can get out of this possibly. And I think there was some, expectation that they were going to get it done. And he was here the whole day, watched practice, and then departed without a deal. So my guess is he's thinking somebody out there is going to pay him more money.
Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Mickey, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. I'll be here.
All right. Mickey Spagnola with us every single Thursday.